Hey, howdy, hey, welcome back to Trek on the Tube, and welcome to my review and Easter eggs video for the Lower Decks episode Where Pleasant Fountains Lie. This is Season 2's episode 7. That's right, we're already almost at the end of the season, oh my god. As usual, first my thoughts, then the Easter eggs. Do keep in mind these reviews are spoiler heavy, so it's best if you've seen the episode beforehand, unless of course you don't care. Alright, here we go. Actually, no. Before we begin, let me do something very YouTube and something that I don't do very often. But please do hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and send this video out to someone that isn't subscribed. Tell them to subscribe. I mean, I would make these videos, of course, even if no one watched them, even if no one subscribed, because I love Star Trek that much and I love making these reviews. I love, I don't know, I guess getting my thoughts out there, it's helpful. But yeah, I feel like the YouTube algorithm isn't really helpful nowadays. And so many Trekkies are out there just drifting in the ocean that is YouTube. They're trying to cling to the garbage, driftwood shit channels that are out there that are just spewing lies and what have you. So let us be the tropical island. You know, for these people, let us welcome them to this beautiful, bountiful land of the actual good Star Trek content. Maybe I'm praising myself a little too much there. You get the point. I try to be good, whereas other channels out there just don't give a shit. So, yeah. Tell the people that are lost to come by. Maybe they'll like what they see. Alright. Let's get into it. For real this time. Where Pleasant Fountains Lie. Lower Decks has delivered yet another wonderful episode. It's not my personal favorite, but it's definitely a strong outing, and frankly, it's one of those episodes that if someone were to put it in their top 3 list of Lower Decks episodes, I couldn't really argue against it. Like, yeah, it's a fucking strong episode. Both plots were compelling and new and innovative in many respects, even if both had been done before in Star Trek, both in the Next Generation even. Very clearly, Billups' mother was an exaggerated take on Lwaxana Troi, Deanna's mother, and then of course the two people stranded on a planet together trying to work through a stressful situation and personal issues is a classic. Picard and Wesley, Quark and Nodo, Trip and Reed, Neelix and Tuvok, although those last two weren't exactly planets, I guess. Even the evil AI is a very common sci-fi trope nowadays. But all these familiar elements weren't just put to us as a sort of checklist. On the contrary, the stories weaved and navigated themselves clearly into our protagonists' lives and arcs. I'm not going to go on for too long about the various plot lines, however, because what I really want to talk about is what I think was the strongest, most standout elements of this episode. I do want to, I guess, finish with these plot remarks, though, by saying that it was refreshing to finally get an episode or a TV show that didn't shame virgins or didn't shame someone for wanting to remain a virgin. On the contrary, Billups' choice and feelings were respected, embraced, celebrated by the Cerritos crew, and along with this form of asexual representation came the most nonchalant, unremarkable depiction of bi/pansexuality on screen as well. No big deal was made about who was in bed with Billups, or rather who was going to be. On the contrary, the whole situation was actually pretty much ignored, normalized, dare I say, which I know, it can be kind of a meaningless word in some regards. But here what I'm trying to say is everything sex-related, from the choice Billups made to the sexual orientations depicted on screen, as well as the struggles one can encounter when doing the sex, was presented as everyday situations. And although sometimes vocal, in-dialogue acknowledgement of oneself can be a huge win for many, like what Discovery did in its 3rd season, within the context of Star Trek, this feels the most natural. Oh, and then there's Mariner clearly being deeply in love with Boimler, and Boimler himself clearly being a better, more accomplished officer than he has ever been. I mean, I was fooled. I thought Boims had screwed up, but he didn't. He was a boss, and he defeated evil Jeffrey Combs before Mariner's very eyes, earning him some definitive swag points. Like, yeah, he talks about the Titan a lot, but goddamn, it clearly did help him grow. And Mariner likes it. Come on, she does. So much for not taking too long with the plot lines this time around. Ha! By the way, if anyone's wondering, it doesn't bother me one bit that this episode focused more on Billups, as in not a lower decks officer, an upper decks or bridge crew officer. I'm completely fine with that. It doesn't worry me one bit. I do think that the fake out and death of Rutherford was pretty obviously fake though, because like he's main, so ultimately when doing a fake death, I think rather than try to fool the audience, telling the story of the emotional struggle that the survivors would have to go through would be more interesting. That being said, here the Rutherford fake out death was not actually meant to be believed. It was just a tool for the writers to get someone, aka Tendi, investigating the accident and thus revealing the subterfuge. Anyways, what I was talking about earlier and what I think is the standout element of this, all around great episode, is the art design. Yes, the quality of the animation is, as usual, mind-blowingly good, but what I'm talking about here is the creativity behind the designs of the entire Hysperian culture and the Bermuda Triangle shipwreck planet Mariner and Boimler were stranded on. From the blend of hyper-romanticized, middle-aged interpretation that the Ren Fair people had with the more traditional Star Trek sci-fi designs on their ships, to the drastically alien and destroyed vessels littering the ground, the sky, and the orbit of this death trap of a planet, how could one not appreciate the art? It's all visually stunning. Frankly, even almost breathtaking in certain instances. And then complementing this on-screen artistry was the music. A score crafted to perfection, adding a seamless emotional nuance to the more dialogue or action-heavy scenes, and a more iconic and defining adventure sound to the desert moments. It was all very cinematic. Not so cinematic, however, to get us too far removed from what we've become accustomed to in a Lower Decks episode. The stakes are still low-ish, and the script is littered with jokes, whether they be in the dialogue or in the visuals. Special shout out to the guy with the lute, by the way. Hot damn, was that good. Him disabling communications with the sound waves, and the music was just so boss. Perfect joke, impeccable comedic timing, flawless tune, big win all around. Oh, and yeah, Jeffrey Combs. You all seriously thought I was gonna skip over talking about him? Come on. Yes, it was wonderful to have such a great talent back once again on Star Trek. Dude is basically Star Trek royalty, and it's a blessing to have him be in it so much. His performance in Lower Decks here was great, and unlike Badgie, I can't wait to see his character again. What was he called? Agamus? Agamus. I want to see Agamus again. Okay, there you have it. Nice and short, sweet and simple. Those were my thoughts. Perhaps you share some, perhaps you don't. Perhaps you think I'm a fucking idiot and I need to fuck off. If that's the case, who cares? I still love the episode. I had a great time and I can't wait to watch it again. It's now time to talk about the Easter eggs and references. Let's go. The episode kicks off with the Cerritos and her crew saving a species from a sentient and evil computer. This is probably not a direct reference to any one single episode or event, but it definitely is a nod to the recurring trope that this is in sci-fi or Star Trek or even just the original series. As if to complement the returning aspect of the trope that is the evil AI, Agamus here is voiced by a returning and a recurring Star Trek actor, Jeffrey Combs. Dude has been in Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise, as well as now Lower Decks. Agamus is being taken to the Daystrom Institute, a place talked about very often in all of Star Trek, but only ever featured on screen in Picard before this episode. As you can see, effort has been put in to make it look very similar. The Daystrom Institute is situated in Okinawa, Japan. That explains why Mariner mentions Okinawa ramen at some point. It must be said that the branding for the Institute is also the same as in Picard, and that this guy is wearing the same uniform as the terraformers did on The Next Generation. Finally, when Agamus gets dropped off and locked up with all the other evil computers, one of them bears the CBS logo, I don't know how reassuring that is, and another is Batman, basically. Agamus at one point references 7 of 9, the character first seen in Voyager. Agamus's army of drones resemble the drones seen in Arsenal of Freedom, the Next Generation episode. This is a runabout, a class of ship we saw plenty of during Deep Space Nine. As you can see, both the exterior and interior were faithfully recreated here. This is a docking tunnel, very similar to what Discovery gave us not too long ago. Mariner wants to bury Agamus at some point and drops Data's head as an example. Boimler corrects her and says that Data's head was actually found in a cave. It wasn't buried. This is all in reference to the 2-part episode Time's Arrow from The Next Generation. It must be said, though, that Mariner was only partially wrong because B4's head was buried. that was a nemesis. As we mentioned earlier, the Queen, Billups' mother, is a nod to Loxana Troy, Deanna's mother. Even their relationship and dynamic are all very similar, even though kind of like hyper-exaggerated here in Lower Decks. The Hysperians are humans that have simply embraced and based their entire culture around one specific element found on Earth today. We've seen this before with Native American people or the Scottish people across the Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. The Queen mentions the Cerritos is the only ship in the quadrant. That seems highly improbable, considering one quadrant makes up a quarter of the Milky Way galaxy, but hey, she's simply exaggerating, and this was surely done to make fun of the classic Star Trek joke, or rather trope, of the hero always being the only ship in range. This guy, the best guy, is a guy that plays the lute, and so he is adequately named Al Player. And finally, to end all this, dragons! Yes, that's right. Though we didn't actually see one on screen in the episode, it was established that the Hysperians purposefully colonized the planet inhabited by dragons, which is so cool. When it comes to dragons in Star Trek, though, this is the closest we've had up until now. And there you go. That's all of it. Like, comment, subscribe, share. A big welcome to anyone that's new. A huge thanks to all the channel patrons. You can follow me on Twitter if you so desire. The link is in the description. And I'll see you next time. I love you all. Live long and prosper. So stupid. You know the docking tunnel? I misspelt it in my notes, and I wrote, this is a dicking tunnel. A very similar one Discovery gave us not too long ago. A dicking tunnel. Okay.